Okay, we're going to review quickly for the test coming up. It was going to be, did have it originally due this Saturday, but I'm going to give you till Monday. You know how I always extend dates and just forget, you know. So you'll have until Monday to take this test. It'll be open tonight on Blackboard, and then you'll have through Monday to take it. So, and I will be emailing you the 3 documents, study guides, but go by your notes as well, because you know there will be questions that I'll say, you know, list this but explain it, and your personal notes will be better to explain it than what, because this is just skeleton stuff. So I just want to kind of show you, here's what you need to be studying, but you need to review your own notes for getting the nitty-gritty and explaining things, of course. So you know how I test, they're fairly short, but you know, there's no surprises on it. I'm really wanting to see how you think and that you're able to remember some of the key ideas. So I want to go through from session 7 about calling. That's when we had Pastor Will Plitt. You can go and review that video in the session 7 folder. The main things I wanted you to get from Pastor Will, there was a quote that he mentions, is not all should plant, but all should be involved in church planting. Okay, so that might be a good little quote nugget that will be on there. And then he also went over 10 areas or marks of a church planter. And I'll list these briefly. Like I said, I'm going to email you these as well. I just have to type them out into a digital format. A clear sense of calling, spiritual and emotional health, Christ-centeredness, character, holiness of heart and life, leadership abilities, strong family life, disciple-making skills, relationship building, missional lifestyle, and flexibility and adaptability. So something on the test may say, you know, ask something to the effect of, you know, the 10 areas of a church planter, you know, pick 3 and explain them. You know, something along those lines. Maybe pick 4, pick 5, something like that. But you want to just kind of having your idea. What did Pastor Will talk about in a clear sense of calling? You know, what did he say about disciple making skills? You know, it doesn't mean that you're this, you know, disciple making ninja and you do it, you know, perfectly and superbly. Is that you just get the idea of making, maturing, and multiplying disciples. You know, so these 10 areas are marks of a church planter. And then also he had some pre-assessment. You know, we talked a lot about assessment. He went through 10 pre-assessment questions to ask yourself before you get into the assessment and really start. This is really just for your almost like a self-assessment in a way. Am I called to plant a church at this time and in this place? You know, that's the question that I've personally had to wrestle with, because I was not called to plant at this time and place when I was asking. It was clear that it was not the time yet. Do I have 100% support from my spouse and family? Am I qualified to plant a church by 1 Timothy and Titus? And we discussed that in last week's session 8 about characteristics. Am I healthy enough to plant a church, both physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, and maritally? So all those 5 areas. Am I called to be the lead planter or to serve in another capacity? Do I have a clear vision for this new work? Am I a hard worker? Am I persevering? Am I adaptable to new people, places, and concepts? Can I raise the funds needed for my family's needs? And am I humble enough to learn from others, particularly from those who have gone ahead of me in different areas? You can expect from that section a question that's more of an essay question, which I will give a question. Let's just say, for instance, I have on there, am I called to plant a church at this time in this place? And I'm going to ask for some type of response from you on that.
A personal response? Or
Yeah, personal response. And what I would be looking for in those questions is that you're thinking through all the material. You know, don't just say, oh no, because I'm still in school. That gets you a 0 on that question. All right. And I'll have a little bit more of a detailed question for each of these, so don't worry too much. But you just want to have, you know, these pre-assessment questions. And that's pretty much it from his. I think those were the kind of the 2 core things. Those lists of 10 that he went through. I thought those were really, really good and helpful. And you know, you should have those in your notes. So just kind of read through your notes that you typed out from him, or review his lecture even as he discusses these. And you know, I'll be looking for, you know, when we talked about am I qualified to plant a church, that question, if it was an essay, would have something to do with the qualifications from, you know, 1 Timothy or Titus. You know, I like to do essays. I like the essays. I really see as me just kind of testing the ground to make sure that you are comprehending material, and that you're able to think through it. You know, I don't want you to just regurgitate a big list, but I do want you to think through everything that we've talked about. You know, I've been pleasantly, you know, I've been pleased so far on the exams with your essay questions that, you know, we talked about things like, you know, living a life on mission, and your answers related well to that. We talked about making, maturing, and multiplying disciples. Your answers are really, you know, have said, you know, the goal is to get them to go from being lost to multiplying. Like you all kind of, you had a good grasp of that concept. That's what I'm really looking for. So those are the two sections really, that in that quick description. Not everybody, that's going to be like a true or false or fill in the blank, you know, one of those kind of easy questions. Not all should plant, but all should be involved in church planting. Then session 8 was from Dr. Ed Stetzer. That was the video of him from session 8, if you want to go and review those. Really, I mean, so much of his is lists that he just kind of talks through. And so when you see a list, I would, you know, usually I'll ask for, give me 3 or 4 from a list kind of a thing. So you just want to be very familiar with the list. Like, how do you know? You talk about ministry initiation, personal wiring, holy dissatisfaction, family commitment, church affirmation, location, draw. For these right here, expect a little bit more of a substantial answer. Like, it's not going to be list, how do you know questions. But I'll say, okay, when it comes to holy dissatisfaction, explain that a little bit more. You know, what does it mean? And a good resource to study for this exam, for this particular section, would be that blog post of his, because he actually goes through all these. You know what I mean? And he covers it in that lecture video as well.
The one from Christianity Today? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he has I think he has at least five of these listed, 6 of these. So probably what you'll see is, you know, I'll probably give you the, you know, church affirmation, and you'll kind of explain what that means, you know, kind of in your own terms. And once again, I want you to kind of understand and get a good comprehension, and don't give me a dumb answer. Don't just say, oh, well, if I'm wholly dissatisfied, and, you know, it just means I just don't like how church is going. Well, I don't like how your test is going because you just got an F. All right. Don't worry about this planter competency categories. There's not going to be much for that. But this do you know section, you're going to want to have some of that. How do you proceed? Really nothing there. Prayer and counsel, you should kind of know that by now. We've kind of saturated a lot. Pray and have a mentor speak into your life. Talk family. We've talked all about family and assessment, so I'm not going to go through that again. Do know these scales or measures of church planter characteristics. Okay, these are some of those practical characteristics. Remember, in class we discussed those spiritual characteristics, and so I'll, you know, that's really just 1 Timothy 3. And so that, and I'll put it at the end of this. I'll make sure at the end of this document before I send it to you that it does have, you know, you will have a question from 1 Timothy 3, just the qualifications for elders. So you won't be familiar with that passage. It'll probably be one of those where it's like an open Bible question, kind of like we did with Luke 10, maybe something like that. But yeah, do be familiar. I mean, I'm not going to ask you to list all of these, but I may ask for 5 or 6 or, you know, something like that. So do be familiar with the scales. Here, let me go ahead and highlight that, make sure that I make sure it's on there. The predictive scales, not really going to be asking too much from that, but I do want you to be familiar with the top issues planters face. Okay. The preparation stuff, he spends like a third of the lecture going over books he's written or the books he suggests, and so yeah, it's good to watch that because it does let you know, okay, I should probably read this book. You know, he does that, but he does it for a long time. He has a lot. He talks about training. So, you know, he talks about personal preparation, a boot camp type thing, and field-based. You know, that actually might be a good, just to kind of say how there's personal preparation, there's a boot camp, and there's field-based training, and kind of simply what each of these are. Personal preparation is books, researching on your own. Boot camp is that kind of, you know, intensive training, and then the field-based is more like an apprenticeship kind of a thing. So I'll add a little more of that. Yeah, top issues planters face. You know, I may ask you to list and explain one of these or 2 of these, that sort of thing. So And I did put the links on the bottom. This will be in the document that you get too. And I think this link here at the bottom is the one that went to the when we had our in-class discussion. Oh, don't need that. The 17 characteristics of a qualified church planter. So, you know, like I said, there'll probably be a question related that you'll actually have like more of an open text. So that's pretty much it for session 8. I mean, you're talking about characteristics, both practical and spiritual. And then for, let me find, okay, this was the other day in class. We looked at, that's not supposed to be characteristics, that should be capabilities. So the church planter capabilities, I'll change that one day. Be familiar with this quote. Okay, a Christian leader leads from character before skill. Okay, if that's a true or false or a fill in the blank, that should be pretty easy. You won't want to be familiar with that. And I'll send this to you. I've got it in PDF format.
Okay.
So you'll get this. I'll just pull it up here, but you will get this in a PDF. And what is a church planter? You want to know that definition as well. One who is sent to preach the gospel. Yeah, the one from J.D. Payne. What is church? But one who is sent to preach the gospel and establish churches through making disciples from the harvest fields. I want your definition to get as close to that as possible. So if it's a 5-point question, and you say, you know, one is sent to preach the gospel and establish churches from the harvest, you kind of miss that making disciples piece. You know, that may be a point off, but it's not going to make you fail it. But do be familiar with this. Do know the 3 kinds of church planters. I will ask you to kind of list and describe. And of course, here they are. I mean, the list and the description is already here, so that should be fairly easy for you. For the APEST, I'm not going to ask you anything except to be able to list the APEST. So if I say list APEST from Ephesians 4:11 through 12, just be able to list Apostle, Prophet, Evangelist, Shepherd, Teacher. And that will be closed Bible. Spiritual gifting, not really going to have any questions about that, because I don't want to say what are the top 6 in church planters, because that was really only one author who said that. And you know, some other author may say something different, and you may be wired differently and could be a phenomenal church planter one day. So don't worry about spiritual gifting. Do have a little bit of idea of the prophet, priest, king idea, how the prophet is teaching and vision casting, priest counseling and care, and a king is strategy and administration, and see how to get a church where it needs to be, those kind of ideas. I mean, everything is listed here for you. Don't worry about the strength finders things or the personality profiles. That was just kind of, you know, some basic stuff. So you would expect, you know, the standard 15 to 20 questions on this test. I'll send all these out to you in PDF forms by tonight as well. Like I said, your test will be open until Monday night, so I will put an announcement on Blackboard for that. So you'll get the weekend to kind of study and take this bad boy. And you know me, I'm a fairly easy grader, so just study well. Just do it. Any questions? All right. Let me turn this off.